Welcome to Zen Hustlers Balance podcast, where we interview people walking the talk, people who have been through a life journey and they want to give back, resources and ways of being that really support you to be a whole, balanced person, a man, a woman, and anything in between. So thanks for joining us today. It's rare that we get to interview people in person here in Santa Cruz, California, and so we get the opportunity today of talking to Dr. Willow Brown. We met through a colleague, and I was super excited when I learned more about her to interview her about sexuality.
Yeah.
It's a new page on our site, and it's something we're really excited about sharing because what we say is the things that happen in the bedroom, you are going to carry over into the boardroom.
Absolutely.
So the things that you do at home or in your private life are going to carry directly into your business life and your work life. So we should talk about it. It shouldn't be a taboo subject.
That's right. And your family life and your health and really every part of your life. I always say that your sexuality is the foundation of who you are. I mean, it's how we came into form. It's our essence. And when we take care of our essence, everything else in our life proliferates from that.
So thank you for spending in-person time with us, not on a podcast, not on a Zoom call.
So nice to be
you have such an amazing background. You are a Chinese medicine doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You are a Taoist sexuality expert.
Mm-hmm.
You do Qigong,
Mm-hmm.
yoga. Mm-hmm. Tell me more. Like, how many things are you into? And it all has a resonance of humanity and expanding humanity. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. I always like to say I'm a little bit of a walking wellness center. You know, I can kind of do it all, and growing up in Santa Cruz, you know, that was kind of the way, was to wear a bunch of different hats and to have a bunch of different gigs because, you know, that's this town, that's Santa Cruz, California.
Yeah.
It's just a melting pot for health and healing and wholeness. And I've been on the healing path for over 2 decades. And when I started to teach Taoist sexuality, and when I was going through Chinese medicine school, I was like, wow, they talk about Jing Qi, which is sexual energy, a little bit, like a little slice of the pie. And I was like, this is a huge portion of life that people need to understand and know more about and know how to cultivate their own sexual energy for more health, more vitality, and more creativity in your life. And so after I graduated and had been treating for a few years, I started to teach the Taoist sexual practices, which, you know, if you're not familiar...
What does that mean? Let's break break some of these terms down today, too.
Yeah. So Taoist sexuology is kind of like the Chinese version of Tantra. So if you've heard of Tantra, then you have some reference point.
And we've all been saying it wrong.
Well, I like to say it with a little bit of flair.
You know? I like it.
And so Taoist sexology, let's break that down. So sexology is the study of or the observation of your own sexual energy. So you're looking at, you know, your libido levels, your drive, your desire, your ability to know what you like, what arouses you, what turns you on, your ability to speak that to a partner, to share that and to communicate that. And also the other side of sexology, so it's all of what we would think sex is, you know? Yeah. But then there's another side to it, which is really your endocrine system. Like what's going on with your adrenals, what's going on with your ovaries, your testes, your hormonal levels, because that plays a big role in how your drive and desires and freedom of expression in your sexuality is in your life. Yeah. So this is my definition of Taoist sexology. Those are the 2 legs of sexology. Then we take Taoism. What is that? Taoism is it's the way. They say the Tao is the way, but what does that really mean? What is the way? Yeah. It's the way of nature. So it's this expansion and contraction that we see in nature. So when we walk through the 4 seasons, we see contraction in winter, expansion in summer, and everything in between. And everything is this expansion and contraction in nature. Every breath we take is an expansion. Every exhale is a contraction. So therein, within the Tao, within the whole big, beautiful system of Tao, which is basically this field of oneness that we are all woven together through. We have the yin and yang. We all know that Taoist symbol, the yin and yang. And so that's the contraction and expansion. The yin would be that contraction, that going inward, that internal listening. And this is something that we'll probably talk about more, is how
different energies and the different genders and how they play off each other.
Exactly. And how women in today's society and culture have been really living at a yang level rather than nourishing their yin. And then they're getting real burnt out and libidos go, and then they're just not having a good time in their relationships. So we really want to nourish the yin in all of us, because it's undervalued in our culture. The yang is so valued. Like, what did you get done today? Did you get this thing achieved?
Productivity, efficiency.
Like, oh, good job today. But it's like, oh, I took a nap and read a book. Oh, are you going to get a pat on the back for that?
Well, there's a reason why we call it Zen Hustlers, right? Because we all erred towards the hustle based on how we were raised or whatever else we were kind of programmed at some point in our lives. And now the culture is saying hustle, hustle, hustle. And that's why we started Zen Hustlers, because it's like, wait a minute, there's a different way. There's not one way to do it.
That's right.
And another saying was used is like hustle smarter. And another way to do that is to look at it. How are you getting your productivity done? What resources are you depleting to get things done? And I think that's what you're saying is like, there's all these other energies out there and we're all focused on one, and it's not the right way to do it.
We want to find a balance. And that's really what Taoism is all about, is finding that balance. So then when we bring Taoism and sexuality together, we have this really incredible, nourishing body of knowledge that can not only give you more time, more energy, more resources, but also add years to your life. And have a lot more fun.
And let's not forget that. Have a lot more fun in the process. We can't always forget that. And just like, it's energy, but it's like celebrating life, part of how we all got here. And we like to just kind of sweep that under.
Oh, gosh.
So what are some things you're seeing, and thank you for sharing so much about your background. You've got such a wealth to play off of and to pull from. It's not just one area. So what are some things you're seeing in the culture generally? You mentioned we're all leaning towards yang energy. What else are you seeing in men and women right now?
I mean, just in general in the culture, I feel that there's not a lot of room for men to be men, and not a lot of role models of what that is. And women have this, and we have this new expectation on men that they need to be emotionally available, and they need to be tuned in, and they need to be in touch with their femininity, but they need to be a man as well. But I'm going to take control and make sure that everything happens the way I want it to as a woman. So then it's like, well, what is the man's role? You know, he's getting a little bit of mixed signals.
I would say a lot of mixed signals being a man in 2023 in America, in an area where it's very open-minded, it's very liberal thinking, but where's the guideline? Where are the boundaries? Where's the role models? They're all mixed up, and they're intermeshed with culture and media and things where we weren't raised by men who had that. So our models are really outdated, and I like to think of it like that. So who are the new models? So I help facilitate a men's group with Mankind Group, and we're a work in progress. We're a work in progress, but we need good models. And so to dive into that a little bit more around where are you seeing men getting positive reinforcement?
Yeah, I think men's groups is definitely a really great place. And then I think just one-on-one work. I work with a lot of male clients around healing their sexual wounds, and also like, what does it mean to step into the masculine in a safe way that's also feels comfortable for the feminine. A lot of men these days are afraid to like overstep and hurt and injure the feminine, so they're holding back their masculinity.
I don't know what you mean as a white male in America. What do you mean?
Right?
Yeah, we're all like muddling through it without the map.
Yeah.
Right? We don't even know what the goal really looks like.
Right.
And that's always a dangerous place to go because you don't know where your destination is.
Yeah.
You don't know what it looks like. And every woman is coming in with a different place.
Right.
So I don't think we'll solve this today, but at
maybe
least
we'll.
there's ways and resources. So what are some of the things that your clients and your customers come to see you for?
Well,
Let's focus on the men first.
Yeah, so men come with all kinds of different issues, erectile dysfunction, not having really good ejaculatory choice. We use ejaculatory choice over control because it's like you get to choose when you have your final frontier of an orgasm. And then also they'll come with sexual trauma. Many, I think it's 1 in 4 men and 1 in 3 women have had some kind of abuse or trauma around sexuality early on in their lives. And so that's where a lot of the wounding comes from of like, I don't know how to hold space for a woman because I'm not even really sure how to hold space for myself.
Yeah,
so I mean, all of this,
not solid.
all of this work starts on the inside for each and every individual, no matter what gender you claim. You know, it's really important that we find the level of trust inside of ourselves so that we can trust ourselves with other.
Yeah, and trust ourselves first to be able to go out in the world and want to share yourself in different ways. Very, it's challenging. I just want to empathize with the people listening that it's not an easy path, and especially for men right now, we've been kind of, stripped of certain things. Women have been added certain things and responsibilities in our modern culture, and it's a messy time. Yeah, it's a messy time. So there's folks like you in the world who are helping us navigate, get us to a place where we're whole, and then go out in the world and then share that with whoever we want to share that with. Yeah. And tell us about the female journey right now.
Yeah, I think women are confused too. Generally speaking. I'd say there's I get a lot of women, especially moms, who come in and they're like, well, I have to hold it together. I have to hold my kid and my career and, deal with the baby daddy and the new person I'm dating. And, it's just a lot to hold. And I think there's a real, I want to say, like, lack of ability to surrender into trust and faith. And again, that comes back to trusting self. And that's an ongoing journey. That's something that we continually cultivate, and we can use our sexual energy to cultivate that, which is really beautiful because, again, when we come back to sexual energy through the lens of Taoism, Jing Qi, Jing, that's called sexual energy. That also means essence. So it's the essence of you. And one of the first things that I do with clients that I work with privately is I get them in touch with their essence. Like, what does your essence look like? What does it love to do? When it's unbridled and in its most joyful state, what does it feel like? What does it look like? Draw a picture of it. Write a poem of it. Get it out of you and onto some external things so that you have more of an understanding of your essence and what you are going toward in using sexual energy to cultivate yourself ultimately.
So what are some tools that you help people practice? Let's start with single people. So they're not in partnership, they're not in relationships. What are some tools you're recommending to people to try?
Yeah, well, just that is one, just getting...
Journal, write, draw, create art.
Yeah, usually I'll take them through a somato-emotional release process where we kind of find, like, where inside of your body does your essence live, and it's like, oh, it lives in my gut or my heart or my head or wherever they feel it. And then we start to draw, like, well, what is it doing? And, start to draw that out of them more and more so that they have a visual and an embodied experience of it. And then, you could do a collage or do some journaling or whatever, even like make an altar to your essence, and then from there, I love to have individuals really start to cultivate their own sexual energy. So we don't ever use the term masturbation.
Okay, I was wondering what terms we were using here.
Yeah. Self-cultivation.
Self-cultivation.
Or self-pleasure.
Okay, yeah.
That's a more obvious word. But yeah, we're not just like getting off. There's a way to use sexuality to relieve yourself of stress and to clear your system of cortisol, basically. And that's what most people use sexuality for. But especially within partnership, it's like a woman is not a receptacle for a man's stress release. You know, we've got to start to shift that paradigm and use sexuality as an opportunity to be more intimate with ourselves and to be more connected with our partners.
Got it. So what are you seeing as far as, let's talk about work life. So let's role play for a sec. So I'm a busy man. I just had a really busy day at work. Stress, meetings, calls. I come home and I see my partner and I start to either download or retreat within. Now the woman is also kind of wanting to, hear from the man and then maybe share something intimate and then have, let's say, a romantic evening. How does that, I know how it goes down in the typical sense. Yeah. Let's frame it a little bit differently, that in a different way that you could kind of walk us through, like how could it work in a much healthier sense?
Yeah.
Where we're all carrying that home and we all want to have like a relaxing romantic night, but then that doesn't work because of our typical way that we do it. Yeah. So how can we remodel that?
Yeah, I think, like sort of a tantric coming back together after being in separate places throughout the day and, maybe high stress levels, maybe pretty chill day over here, so coming together in this imbalanced way, we've got to find a way to meet each other and to make that. And to come together in a co-creation. And I would say one of the first things I love to have men do if they're coming back from work is like sit in the car for 3 minutes. Just sit there and breathe. Like don't even come in the house until you have felt a shift in your nervous system. Whether that means listening to a meditation or a song or just simply breathing for a few minutes. And then when you do come through the house, realize that, your partner is probably going to be in a different place. They might be in a high stress level place. So you might be coming together in this supercharged way. Yeah. But it's really important to kind of keep all the verbiage out when you first come back together. And just let your bodies come back together and let your...
Almost quietly.
And let your nervous systems find a moment where they can meld together again.
Oh, I love that. No words.
No words.
I love that.
Yeah,
no
and
words.
I don't care how your day was.
Say
just
anything to each other.
Like, this is a good one, like put one hand here and one hand here and just eye gaze, and just like connect into each other. Not even touching. Okay. Yeah, and then look into each other's left eye.
Left? Why the left eye?
Left eye is the eye of the soul.
Okay.
So it's, see, can you feel how we just shifted into like...
It quiets down.
Now we're in harmony with each other. Our nervous systems are in harmony with each other. And so that's what you're looking for. And then from there, you can do a hug where you connect with a couple of the different chakras, like one hand on the heart chakra, one hand on the sacral chakra, and that's just going to ground your bodies and your nervous systems even further together.
So what I'm hearing is a couple of things. One is like take time before you even walk in the door.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, music, breath work, meditation, just calm yourself before you enter.
Yeah, and really just like leave everything that you were just involved in all day outside. Yeah. I mean, you can still talk about it when you come home. You can have the conversation after you've had this moment of recalibrating. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that we miss in our culture is the moment of recalibration. We miss the pause, and we need to practice pausing so much more especially in a relationship with two people. Yeah. Because there's so much going on inside one person alone. Yeah. And you bring 2 or 3 or 4, a whole family together, and there's a lot going on in each individual. And so taking a time to pause and recalibrate to we're in a new environment, it's a new situation, new nervous systems are in my field. How do I want to show up at that?
That's perfect. And we're going to take a pause right now, so this is perfect timing. We'll be right back.
This was a team that we wanted to work with, that they weren't just artistic, but they understand communication and they understand social media. So it was really exactly what we were looking for. Not just somebody that could film the content, but Brickhouse Media was able to understand that in our particular project, we were creating something that had never been created before. We had to color within the lines, so it wasn't just the video ability. A lot of people can do that. It was the vision, it was the artistic direction, and then for me personally, it was helping me and the team organize everything. One of the things Brickhouse Media did for us is they kept fastidious notes. Every single phone conversation, every word that was communicated went down in writing. There were master spreadsheets with every contact, with every person that was involved, with every deliverable and every date. And that made the people that I was reporting to very comfortable. Upper management really liked.
Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Willow Brown. Thanks for joining us today. This is a really in-depth talk about sexuality, our different male and female energies, yin and yang. So let's talk a little bit about our professional lives. When we have a better balance at home, in the bedroom, either alone or in partnership, what are we bringing out into the world? Where do you see that different positive aspects, and how does that play out?
Gosh, that's such a good question and a big one.
This is a big one, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know how when you've had really good sex, like you're glowing for days afterwards?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the answer, you know? Then you take that glow into everything
What is
that
that
you
glow?
do.
Break it down for us a little bit. Like, what's actually happening in the body in that glow?
Most of us have cortisol running through our bloodstream pretty heavily. Like we're overloaded with cortisol.
I hear that with stress hormone.
Yeah, that's a stress hormone that's released from your adrenal glands, and you know, every little thing that you're worried about and trying really hard for and stressing about emits that cortisol. So most of our nervous systems are pretty tight and rigid. And the fastest way to clear all of that cortisol from your bloodstream is by having an orgasm. So
for men and women.
For men and women. And so when you have an orgasm, you have this flood of oxytocin.
Yeah.
And oxytocin is the love hormone. It's this incredible drug inside of our bodies that makes us feel bonded. It makes us feel connected. It makes us feel like we want more connection, more intimacy. Intimacy. Yeah. And so as we bring that oxytocin through, then we're more surrendered. We're more available to be in a state of trust and to allow life to happen rather than trying really hard for all the things that we strive for in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in my own life. I feel more confident. I feel more empowered. I feel more comfortable. I'm not on edge. I'm not stressy as much. And so I've noticed that I feel like I'm more, not even more productive, but different energy. Yeah. And I can give more in a creative way because I work in the creative field. Yeah. It's really a unique energy. And I've realized that the times when I was either what I call like in a drought or a dry spell or not having a lot of sexual activity, that was all very squashed and I was really pulling and it wasn't easy energy to cultivate. So if you're having a self-practice, then you're bringing that out on your own. Do you think it's even like a multiple of X when you're with a partner? Do you think you can reach these levels with a self-practice?
Absolutely, you definitely can. One of the ancient tantric practices is called sex magic practice, and so that's like a longer self-cultivation practice. You know, it's cool to just rub one out and go to sleep. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to get rid of that, you know. But what we want to add to our sexual repertoire is really cultivating our sensuality and our essence again, you know, like using oil, using music, using senses, using our sensuality to feel our bodies and the energy inside of our bodies. There's a really strong energetic component with all of this work, and it gives you, not only gives you more energy, but just like gives your life more energy. And the most potent creative energy that we have access to is sexual energy. I mean, we create new life with it, right? Yeah. So it's potent, powerful, creative stuff. And in the world of Chinese medicine, we can actually hold it in our hands. So most types of qi, you can't hold in your hand. It's like qi is energy, it's airflow, it's breath, but we can actually touch and hold jing qi. And for a man, it's his ejaculate, it's his semen. And for a woman, it's her menstrual blood. So it's tangible, and viscous. And when we start to learn how to run it through different pathways and meridian systems in our bodies and bring it to different glands and different light sensitive areas of our body that are creative centers, then we can really use it to create whatever we want in our lives.
That's great. It's exciting to talk about. I think in a culture where people are all about like hurry up, quick, fast, down and dirty.
Yeah. Get it off.
Yeah, like you said, it's like it really goes against the norm of like spending time, just giving yourself that space. What type of do you recommend people do? They find a time of day or a special, like how do you, like a lot of what we talk about is habits. It's like forming a new habit, forming a new practice, like yoga, like breath work, like anything. So what do you recommend to people? They find a time of day, a place in their home. Obviously, it is a private thing. We can't just go out and do this in the public. Right. It's a little bit different.
But actually, you can.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
In the world of Tantra, there's white Tantra practice and there's red Tantra practice.
Okay.
And so a white Tantric practice could be Qigong. Okay. It could be breath work. It could be meditation. It could be anything where you're cultivating, standing at the ocean, drawing the energy of the ocean into your heart to open your heart. Whatever it is, anything that's cultivating your essence more.
Got it.
And then when we do red Tantra practice, then we're in a union with one or more people.
Yeah.
And in that time, it's like we have the opportunity to have somebody hold space for us to cultivate ourselves even further. And so when we bring it into a sexuality practice, a self-pleasuring practice, I really love to get my women on a bi-monthly, like do a bigger practice, and I do have my couples do this as well, and men as well, but do it twice a month, do it full moon and new moon. Those are powerful times of the month. And I'm a
Get in touch with those cycles again.
I'm a big moon worshiping proponent, advocate. So,
what's actually happening during those phases that we're tapping into?
So the new moon is the most yin, so it's that winter phase. Each one of the phases of the moon cycles relates to a season. Okay. So winter phase, this is the recalibration point. This is the point that so many people miss. So when we follow the lunar cycle, we're looking at, I call it the 4 C's. These relate to the seasons, relate to the 4.
Okay, tell us about the 4 C's.
We've got clearing, calibrating, creating, and cultivating. So clearing is going to be fall phase. So that's the waning moon. Then we've got calibrating. That's the winter phase. That's the new moon. Then we've got creating. That's the spring phase. That's the waxing moon. And then we've got cultivating, and that's the full moon. That's that summer phase. So when we align our lives to those seasons that are happening every lunar cycle, especially for women who are still having a menstrual cycle, we are using then we're in harmony with the way. Then we're using the Tao, then we're really using the expansion and contraction that's happening universally and happening inside of our bodies to create something different.
I love that. You know what tomorrow and today is around the solstice.
Today's the solstice.
Yeah, today's the solstice, shortest day of the year. So it's really fortuitous that we're having this conversation even on these special days. And I think people are looking for ways to integrate natural cycles. And again, it's like we've lost the way. We don't know how do I integrate a full moon? What am I supposed to do? Go drumming by the beach? That's one way. Here in Santa Cruz, we have that, but not everyone's in touch with that, right? So we have things like that, but I think people are yearning for that. Like it is a full moon, it's a new moon. What do I do? How do I acknowledge it in a way that means something? So I think that's a really cool practice.
So to do like sometimes I'll do sex magic practice, like 4 hours. 4 hours go by. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I had a good time by myself for 4 hours.
This is the tantric part, right?
Yeah, this is the tantric part.
Yeah.
And then with partner, it could be, anywhere between a general like tantric session where you're separating the roles of giver and receiver generally lasts about 2 hours.
Okay.
But, if you're really into someone and you're kind of like shifting a bit with the roles of giving and receiving, going back and forth and having more of a dance, it can go for 7 hours.
Wow.
Some of the best sex I ever had, there was no intercourse and it was 7 hours.
Wow.
So
Okay.
there you go.
No intercourse.
No intercourse.
See, it's possible.
There's
possible.
So one of the things that I want to share too is I have a podcast called Sex Reimagined.
Yeah.
And so that podcast that I do with my dear friend Leah Piper, we are always like bringing forward, like, what is sexuality? What does it really mean? Can I have a sexual encounter with a tree? I mean, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then what does it mean to have 7 hours of sexual play and no intercourse?
Yeah.
Let's
You're redefining like everything.
Yeah, let's reimagine,
Yeah.
let's redefine what we've always known sex to be.
Yeah. Just so classic.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's another challenge that men and women have. Is like often, and I'm just speaking very classically here, a man will orgasm and he'll lose energy and get tired. Yeah. And a woman will orgasm, she'll raise energy and not want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So is that reframing? Is that all physiological? Like, how do we reconcile those two challenges, really? Because one is raising energy, one's potentially losing energy, and they're not on the same page anymore. Whereas they started together. So talk a little bit about that, because I know I've been challenged by that, and I'm sure other people have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the most important things that men come for is to, again, learn ejaculatory choice so that they can prolong their lovemaking and stay connected with their partner throughout. Yeah. And then according to the Tao, depending on your age, you really only want to ejaculate a certain amount of times per month. Yeah. Because when you do ejaculate as a man, that's 200 million potential lives that are going out into the sheets.
200 million.
That's a lot of potential life force.
Yeah.
What if you kept that potential life force inside and you drew it to your adrenal glands and you plumped up those adrenals with all of that chi and vitality? Then you would have a lot more energy and you'd have a lot more stamina for everything in your life. Now, not every man wants to learn how to become multi-orgasmic or how to prolong their ejaculation. And it's just a personal choice for each person. It is a journey to learn those techniques, but there's a lot of pressure points and techniques and pulls and breath work and sounding. Breathing and sounding really move energy. So when you learn how to take all your sexual energy out of your genitals and run it through other places in your body, you start to experience full body orgasms. Orgasms in your brain, orgasms in your heart, orgasms in your adrenals. And it just feels so much more fulfilling. Yeah. And then you have more energy for the next round when it comes up. That's great. And then what's the opposite side with women? That women naturally have all these gifts and men have to work at it? How does it work? No, women also get tired after they have an orgasm. In the Tao, we call it a tiny death. So there's two
I've heard that. I've heard this saying.
You heard that?
A tiny death. And I've only heard it really from men. So it's the same for men and women.
It's the same, yeah. So there's 2 times in life that we have no concept of being us. Like we have no concept of me, a woman, Willow, who lives here, no concept of that. And the 2 times that we really, other than being a super expert meditator, is when we die. And when we have an orgasm. And so in that moment of orgasm, you're in the oneness, you're in the field, you're in the Tao. You're no longer identified as something separate from the everything. And that is a really beautiful opportunity to expand and to stretch out. And so if you're not ejaculating as a man, you actually get to hold that vibe of being in tune with the oneness inside of your body so much longer. And as a woman, it's the reason we don't have quite as much of a depletion when we have an orgasm is because we're not losing 200 million potential lives. We lose our potential life force when we bleed. That's why we feel so depleted when we have our menstrual cycle.
And you need rest and quiet and different things.
Yeah, that's our most yin time.
Yeah.
That's our winter time.
Yeah.
So,
do you recommend that women have sex during that time period?
generally,
What's that
generally
for?
not for the
Yeah.
first couple days. It's like things want to come out of your vagina at that time rather than in. So, especially if you have cramps or heavy bleeding or anything like that, it's best to just let the energy flow out.
Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let it go.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining that, because I think that's been a big thing of like, there's been an imbalance there of like, hey, you're all ready to go and you're all excited and you're up now and I'm ready to take a nap and go to sleep, because we're not really spending that time to really cultivate all the other parts of us.
Yeah.
And the thing I want to remind people is like, women are also part of this. They're also asking us like, hey, we want you to have an orgasm, but it's like, well, let's slow down.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's take time and it's okay and let's enjoy it. Like, this is one of the funnest things we can do with other people.
Yeah.
But I think it's a two-way street. It's like, you've got to partner with me to stretch that out.
Yeah.
And it's not wham, bam, thank you. It's like, let's stretch this out and have a different experience than just the quick, and let's both get it done so we can move on and do the laundry and do the things.
Right.
And I think that's that culture shift in the mindset of like, hey, this is about time for us.
Uh-huh. And if we take the goal of orgasm off the table, you know, it doesn't matter if we have 20 minutes or 5 hours. Like, we can actually just add to each other's bank account.
Yeah.
You know, rather than depleting it for each other. And it's really, I think that's one of the biggest things with couples is there's, especially if you've got kids and family and the whole thing, and there's always something else to do. But this is one of the most important things that we need to give energy and time to, because it's the union, it's the foundation of all of the rest of life, and it's a really potent way to be in harmony with a whole family unit.
Yeah, thank you. So what are some ways that you work directly with clients? Do you have any virtual services or only in-person services?
Yeah, so I've got a 9-month program that I run for women around learning everything about Taoist sexuality that you could ever imagine, and how it relates to the moon cycles and how it relates to Chinese medicine and the organ systems within you. So that's a big, prolific journey.
And how do you do that?
I do that online.
Online. Okay. Good.
Online. I have people all over the world in that program. It's a lot
Nice.
of fun. Yeah. And then I have a membership program as well for women, Erotic Empowerment Circle, where you can just kind of come and get your toes wet and kind of learn a little bit about like, what is erotic suffering and how do I get out of that, and what are the different names of the vajayjay and what does that all mean, and what's my vajayjay's name, and just really like getting more in tune with yourself. So that's an ongoing membership. And then I work with people in person. I do tantra sessions with couples, with individuals, and I also am an acupuncturist and do that as well.
There's so many different
lots of
modalities that
possibilities.
you can offer.
Yeah, and online coaching with private.
So if people are thinking about it and they're not sure what's the next step for them?
Yeah, I would say just book a call with me. Let's chat, get to know each other, and find out what your needs are.
Got it. Yeah. Got it. Any parting wisdom that you'd like to give? You've filled our cup so much today, but something they can take away and just try tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say, take the next shower that you take, like really slow down, smell the soap, run your fingers over your body, feel the water. We can have sensual experiences all day long, but we're really just so busy rushing through things to get to the next thing that we never enjoy the moment. So whether it's taking a shower or standing in the park or by the ocean, just like slow down and breathe and receive. Receptivity is the feminine's greatest superpower. And we all have feminine energy in us, and most of us are terrible receivers. So start to cultivate your ability to receive.
I love that. Thank you. And again, it's the whole reason why we exist is because it's about finding that present moment of whatever you're doing and making, choices that benefit you in whatever area. So if you're having trouble from the bedroom to the boardroom, you just found your next expert to reach out to, Dr. Willow Brown. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot.
Yay.
And I know other people watching will be definitely learning a lot. So if you have any questions, reach out to Willow. She's a wonderful person to be able to talk to. Makes it really easy to discuss some of these challenging things.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that today. If you have any questions for us, reach out to Zen Hustlers. We're here to support you, whatever that is along your journey, so that you are living a productive, whole, empowered life. From your family to your house to your work life, it's all unified and having fun and joy. So thank you for bringing that out in us today.
Yay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Take care.